It was a Twitter DM at 1 a.m. on a Sunday, and I was like, "This is going to be like a you up thing. I am not up." And and then it was just like, "Ashley, are you up for writing for the Daily Show?" And I was like, "Well, this can't be real." And it was Neil Brennan, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have you meet with somebody. Like,
Oh, wow.
just let's
Yeah.
hear them out." And I was like, "Okay." And then Roy Wood Jr. emailed me on like a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And I was like, oh, "Okay, well, this is nuts. Like, I guess this is really Roy Wood Jr. We'll find out."
First I got your voicemail, then I got you. We can meet in person or maybe on Zoom. So tell me what's your genre, tell me what do you do. I'd like to know the things that specifically make you.
Hey, I'm Tim Barnes. You Are the Genre, and shout out to Freddie Nunez, who created and sings that awesome You Are the Genre theme song. No, it's not me, as often as people out there try to convince me that it is. It's not me. It's Freddie singing. He has a better singing voice than I do. Stop suggesting it's me, even though it's quite flattering, I guess. It is. It definitely is. He's a better singer than I am. Also, yes, the show is finally back. It was on pause in 2025, just like just about everyone put something on pause in 2025, I feel like. So, for the foreseeable future, at least for how long I think that season 2, which this is the beginning of season 2 of You Are the Genre, will be, you can look forward to new episodes every Wednesday, except for this window of time in which another show that I have, a scripted audio series called Judge Travis, will be coming out. It premieres on February 11th, so you should subscribe to Judge Travis. There's a trailer for it right now. You'll hear a trailer for it in the middle of this episode. And in addition to Judge Travis, I'll have interviews on You Are the Genre with some of the people involved, some of the actors, some of the writers, some of the crew members. It'll be great. It's a passion project. It's my best work. I can't wait for you to hear it. And I can't wait for you to hear some of my conversations with people involved with it. But enough about that. And let's get to the meat of this episode. Because in this episode, I'm talking to novelist and television writer Kashana Cauley. And before comedy, she worked in the world of law, but she rose to internet fame on Twitter, back when that place was kind of fun, for writing political hot takes that were so funny, they prompted Neil Brennan to bring her into the fold as a writer for Trevor Noah's freshly minted version of The Daily Show. And since, Cauley has written for multiple television series and penned 2 novels, The Survivalists, and her latest, The Payback, which was published in July of 2025. And we spoke in June of that year, I believe. But now the episode is finally being released as we kick off this new season of You Are the Genre. So please enjoy this conversation with Kashana Cauley. I feel like, if memory serves me, we met in person once years ago.
Yep.
When it's very surreal for me to to go back, because I was co-hosting a stand-up show with Z-Way before she was Z-Way.
Yep.
Easy.
I tell everybody about that stand-up show, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh no, see, Z-Way before she was Z-Way, and it was in this bar in like a corner of Williamsburg that you don't know."
Yeah. And it was like, it was a learning curve. It wasn't like the perfectly produced show. It's so funny to think back to that. And in doing my brief research on you before this, I'm like, you've worked in many different capacities in many different worlds. So I'm excited to dive into the questions of the show, because you worked in law at one point.
Yeah, I was an antitrust lawyer. That's how people start out in comedy.
It actually is not that surreal. Like, there are multiple comedians who start off in law, and I do think that there is some correlation there, because a lot of stand-up, for instance, is about building an absurd case, and I imagine sometimes that happens in a courtroom.
Yep.
Where are you from?
Originally?
Yeah.
Madison, Wisconsin.
So what is Madison, Wisconsin culture?
Well, it didn't include me, I'll tell you that. I was too much for them. They were not ready for a Black woman who would never shut up and had like all the opinions in the world. I've been like this forever. In fact, when I wound up working at the New York Times, I was a contributing opinion writer there. My first thought was, "Take that! All you people from high school said I had too many opinions. Now I'm getting paid." I mean, look, I'm Black. It's just a very white place. It was a nice place to grow up and like uh pretend that everything was perfect so long as you didn't look at anything that was actually happening in the real world.
Yeah.
But also the food was good.
It feels like one of those situations where you are kind of just inherently the Black extra in the background of an episode of Frasier or something. Like that's what I imagine your life was there, at least.
We would have Black History Month and they would point to me. Like I would be in like the 7th grade and they would be like, Kashana would be answering the Black history questions. Only she knows what we're talking about.
And it's a unique pressure being the one Black person. And I don't think I necessarily had that a lot in my youth, but when I went to City College, when I got in Santa Barbara, that's when I had that feeling. But there is it does fascinate me, that feeling of like being a young person and representing something so massive. And every Black person has that has that experience where it's like all cameras are suddenly on you. And have you learned how to navigate that throughout your life? Like, were you always at the same level of confidence that you are now when it comes to that?
I was pretty good for like a 7th grader. I told them, I said, I'm not Malcolm X. I will not be explaining this to you.
You're here to teach me. I might correct you every now and then, but I'm not running the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was not marching at Selma. I was not born then.
What brought your family to Wisconsin?
They just wanted to escape Chicago.
Okay.
Really common reason to move to Wisconsin.
Got it. I'm from California, but I really honed my comedy chops in Chicago. And I do think that there is something unique about Midwest comedy in general, where you know how to tell jokes to a massive amount of people because of this unique space, I feel like.
It's a great place to hone comedy because for 9 months of the year, you don't want to go outside. The weather's terrible.
Yeah. And I do want to talk a bit about your book, The Payback. Amazing cover art, by the way. Every time I look at that title on like your Blue Sky or whatever, I hear that James Brown song in my head. Is that something that you had in mind?
Yeah.
I hear the big Payback every time I look at it. I'm like, I can't wait.
Same. That's my dad's favorite James Brown song. So like I was subjected to a lot of like cassette tapes and like a lot of explaining about 70s soul and that particular song. And he would just go around the house yelling, I don't know karate, but I know crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And like sometimes that sticks with you.
Yeah. And I feel like the theme of the book can tie into this conversation because it is a student loan heist.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about your life as a student, what was the first genre, I guess, that called out to you when you were a kid?
Comedy, which I know is going to shock you. So people are always like, it's not like my parents listen to stand up in the car. My parents listened to stand up in the car.
Wow.
I was like the 8-year-old who could quote Robin Williams bits and like Bill Cosby bits and all that.
Do you think that comedy gave you a sort of like creative armor? Like, I don't know if what I should be projecting from what you've told me is that you were bullied or anything like that. But it does feel like when all eyes are on you in that specific way, you do have to build up a certain sort of like armor. You know what questions, you know, the question behind the question, and you start to learn ways to calculate with all that stuff. Was that stuff that you were doing?
Yeah, I had not studied comedy like I have now. I was not like a person who could divide it into setups and punchlines. But I did note that when you made people laugh, they left you alone. So as a person who did build up that armor, I was definitely known for being sharp and pointed in ways that would make people laugh that I could not necessarily predict. And I really liked it.
So for you, comedy is in essence the art of pushing people away, of getting people to leave you alone.
In school it was, but at home it really brought my family together. We would all be laughing at the same stuff and I would feel warm and included and happy.
This is the first genre that called out to you, but it doesn't sound like you're saying that you were like actively, you were kind of accidentally, it was infused in what you were doing. Was there a point in which you started to take the comedy thing a little seriously?
I was a younger mom and I was bored because my kid didn't eat like the silica gel packets. Like our kids are supposed to, when they get to a certain age, they're supposed to eat everything. So I figured I would be like digging dirt out of a little mouth for 2 years. And so he was the kind of kid where he like didn't screw up. He would just interact with the other kids very normally and he wasn't eating anything he shouldn't. And I was like, oh, he's going to be easy. What am I going to do? I had stopped being a lawyer just a little bit before that. And I was like, well, I remember all the comedy from when I was a kid. I remember like going over the bits with my parents. I miss that. I wonder if I could teach myself to tell jokes. And so then I would just fire jokes out on Twitter every day. It was a great place to experiment, like to just put stuff up and see if it worked. And
Yeah,
then in
yeah.
the process, kind of hone your own style, like figure out what you like to do. And so, yeah, I would just fire between 1 and 10 jokes a day out at an unsuspecting public and see what happened.
And that was back when Twitter, I mean, when Twitter was called Twitter, when Twitter had certain limitations, there was a character count limit. I forgot about that. This is that is your official first entry into like public comedy. And it's interesting because it sounds like it's avoiding that sort of like you didn't go to open mics, for instance. You were kind of in the print world of comedy.
Yeah, I went to open mics later. It's really I went to open mics after I left the Daily Show. It's really funny. I was like, well, I'm not working there anymore. I should try stand up.
Well, I want to rewind a little bit because it is interesting. Like your parents loved comedy, so it sounds like there was a point where you were listening to a lot of the comedy that your parents loved. Was there ever a dividing line that started to develop? Like you could kind of separate, oh, this is my kind of comedy compared to what my parents are listening to.
One of my mom's favorite movies is Repo Man. Like
Oh,
she
wow.
just and that wasn't one of my faves. I was like, I don't know how funny that is. My mom has the most deranged sense of humor on anyone you'll ever meet. She thinks like conspiracy theories are funny, which I mean sometimes
So
they
she
are.
watches Alex Jones for fun. Like to her,
Yeah,
it's like
she's listening to Laura Ingraham for fun.
that is like a truly advanced level of comedy enjoyment, like, almost like a meta. Like I'm not falling for the trap. I'm just interested in how. Like she's watching like the source of the Colbert Report with the
Yeah,
same intention that people were watching the Colbert Report.
she's an intense person. Yeah.
What started to develop for you? That's like this is my lane of comedy that I'm enjoying that my parents might not be into.
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Okay.
I think that's I actually have never had a job in comedy where we haven't sat down and watched that gas station scene where they light each other on fire, like as a group. Like if you had to be like, when were you born as a comedy person? Zoolander. Like the very
Wow.
first time I was like, this is great. This is what
Yeah.
people should live for.
Side note here, I just want to say that I am jealous of your laugh. You have a very infectious laugh. You know, I kind of brush it off when people tell me that I have an infectious laugh. So I think this is the first time in my life where it's like, okay, that laugh is cooler than mine. Now I want to have an infectious laugh off.
It's gonna be tough, you know.
It's a competition show that no one even knows they want to see. So Zoolander, that's interesting. And you feel like your parents couldn't really understand what you're laughing at there.
That was the first one I think where they were just like, oh, and I'm like, no, this is perfect. And then it hurt me. I'm like, is this like my generation's comedy? Like, is this
Yeah.
where we leave each other?
And then we kind of zoomed past the fact that you started to work in law. Would you say that something law related was the first craft that you officially pursued?
Oh no, I was writing bad books when I was 10. I was illustrating them. They were
Okay.
film noir. I didn't know
Oh,
what sex
wow.
was. So like, but I knew that you needed to have it in a book at age 10.
Wow.
And
So there's
so
a
I
bunch
would
of
like
TKs where it's like, and then something happens behind those doors.
I would kill to find those books and figure out what it is that I meant. But I grew up in a very religious household, and they were like, this is terrible. This is horrible, sinful stuff that you're drawing in your notebooks.
I do think that's because I grew up in a very Christian family too. And I do think that a lot of the stuff that I was creating, there would often be this feeling of when they started to look at it, it's like, but no one's mentioning Jesus. Like there's almost like a search for like the trope of a Christian narrative in the stuff.
Like I forgot.
Yeah. No one said it. No one said Jesus once. Not even Jesus Christ, passive aggressively. And so, but that's a very like intense thing to be doing. To be writing stories, novels, film noir stories. Were there people that you were modeling that stuff against in the written form?
Absolutely not. I was reading all sci-fi and going, but it needs a
Wow.
detective. I didn't make any
Oh my.
sense.
I mean, it sounds like you invented your own Doctor Who. Like, well, I want to talk about this love of sci-fi then. It sounds like an added layer to the genre that called out to you as a kid. What is it about science fiction?
Oh, well, I really hated growing up in Madison, Wisconsin, and thought that space sounded just amazing in comparison. You could, people were less annoying there. Like, yeah, you could die, like the lack of oxygen, all that, but it
Yeah.
seemed way less boring than Madison.
And so, did those pursuits ever kind of take the back seat as you started to do more official things? Like, did you have a very clear divided line between, okay, this stuff is stuff that I'm actively doing, but was it ever in the hobby camp while you started to pursue the things that, like, this is the thing that's actually paying the bills?
No, I think sci-fi was just something I got into very intensely for 5 years and have picked up later, but never actually attempted to do.
And now I do want to talk about this law business. Why? Where did this come from and why?
Oh, I'm first generation college, so I had no idea what college was even about. And then I got to the end of that, and I was like,
Yeah.
so what else are we supposed to do here? Like,
I identify with that so hard. I feel like no one really explores the sort of surreality of kind of being the first one to go to college. And I didn't even go to I went to like a couple years of a city college, but it was something that's like, yeah, you're supposed to go there, but a number of things just did not click in the right way. Like I didn't have the right emotional attachment to the stuff. So, I mean, did you feel like there was like pressure for you, intensely for you to be the first one?
No, my parents had kind of checked out by then, so I was lucky on that front. But yeah, I still was just like, what is it that you're supposed to be doing while we're here? What do you do afterwards? I didn't know.
That shrug feeling, I haven't heard anyone else express that before, but it is very real, and it feels like perhaps that ties into your book, The Payback. I mean, what part of your experiences there do you think kind of translates into the novel?
In the novel, they're also first generation, and they have no idea what college means. And by the time they figure it out, they have racked up a lot in student loans. And as a result of that, they made a certain set of career decisions, and they're like, "Oh, I'll pay these loans back." But they're pushing 40 in the book. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this speculative police force, the debt police, pops up, and they learn that they can, in fact, be punished for their failure to pay back the debts. So they're like, crap, what do we do? And after playing nice for a little bit and getting harassed, they were like, well, I guess it's time for a heist. Like, this is the only way we're getting out of this.
I do feel like there's some through lines here in terms of the sort of outsider experience of being one of the few Black people in Wisconsin, the outsider experience of being the one person in college who doesn't really understand why they're there. Was there like an element of like a sort of searching feeling throughout all of this? Like, do you feel like something like The Daily Show was the first time where you finally got like a feeling of like, okay, I'm grounded in this pursuit?
The Daily Show, what's funny is it didn't feel pursuity. It was actually just the first time I felt like I was hanging out in a room full of people who were as twisted sense of humor wise as I was. It was like a very odd alternate home.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, these people all make sense. What did I spend all these years practicing law for? One of them was even a lawyer. Yeah, another former lawyer like me, and other people. I had been doing freelance journalism before that, and they were doing that too. But yeah, they all made sense. We found a lot of the same things funny. We attacked them in similar ways. It was like the first place where I really fit in, actually.
That's amazing. I'm kind of amazed by like all of these things that you're describing that you've done, and you're saying it all with this element of ease that I don't think I've ever seen in someone before. Like, yeah, I was doing a lot of journalism, and I was working in law, and I was writing a bunch of jokes, and I really love sci-fi. I've written really like, how are you navigating all these worlds with like? It feels like there's no tension there. It's kind of amazing.
Well, I have no idea how life is supposed to work still. And so I've just been like following the various paths. People reach out to me and I end up doing something for 3 years. There is no plan here.
So I imagine that had to be a very surreal moment where, was it like a Twitter DM where someone from The Daily Show was like, hey, you're really funny. Do you want to take a meeting? Write a packet?
It was a Twitter DM at 1 a.m. on a Sunday, and I was like, this is going to be like a you up thing. I am not up. And and then it was just like, Ashley, are you up for, writing for The Daily Show? And I was like, well, this can't be real. And it was Neil Brennan, and he was like, okay, I'm going to have you meet with somebody. Like,
Oh, wow.
just let's hear them out. And I was like, okay. And then Roy Wood Jr. emailed me on like a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And I was like, okay, well, this is nuts. Like, I guess this is really Roy Wood Jr. We'll find out. I'm going to meet him in a public place. If he tries to kill me, it will be embarrassing if he does it in the middle of Brooklyn. And so we met at the most crowded Starbucks I could think of so I could keep myself alive.
That is so funny.
Telling jokes about Steve Harvey's visit to the White House because, like, Get Out had just come out. And he looked like he was in...
It's so weird how long ago that feels now, but I remember the feeling of that being fresh. But so many chaotic things have happened that I forgot about those iconic photos of these weird celebrities going up Trump Tower to meet with... That's crazy.
And he came out, he just looked like his soul had been sucked out of his body. And we were like... joking about that because we both thought it was funny, and I think Roy went on the night after that and did like his best Steve Harvey, like visiting the White House. I love Roy. He's like,
he really is the best, and I don't know how he does it, but he manages to be incredibly grounded throughout all the amazing things that he gets to do. So I guess I do want to riff a bit about that time period, because what I remember is that was a time period of tremendous change. And I feel like we're still recovering from that level of change. So I remember in the summer of 2016, that's when I moved to New York. And it was like, oh, all these new things are happening. Stephen Colbert is taking over from David Letterman. Trevor Noah is taking over from Jon Stewart. Stranger Things just came out. Barack Obama is technically still president. Hillary's running against Trump. Trump, like, there's so many topsy-turvy kind of things. And it was like the beginning of this strange new world. And here you are at a job where your job is to comment on it every single day. Was it difficult for you to get into the routine of writing for something like The Daily Show compared to what you were doing on Twitter?
No, because they told me, they're like, basically, we want you to do what you're doing on Twitter, but we'll pay you. And I was like, nice. That's a great pitch. And then I had been doing it on Twitter for 2 years. Like, I was politics posting before people had really gotten into that, which is really more after the 2016 election. But I was like ripping on the RNC, for fun. And so back when it was more funny, you would be like, that guy, he looks like he's a member of Duck Dynasty, but like who read David Foster Wallace. And it was, but nobody thought Trump was going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's still one of the most surreal. I'll never forget the day after. I remember I was on the bus. I was working at Vice at the time as a podcast producer there. And the way that these older Caribbean Black ladies were just like, they were just like kind of roasting Hillary Clinton for some reason. I guess, I don't know what it was, but I forget everyone was just like frustrated and kind of in shock. Everyone's kind of walking like a zombie. It was the complete opposite of both times Barack Obama won, where it's like, the second time Barack Obama won, I didn't even know from the news. I just knew from a specific head nod from another Black person. Like, that was it.
Yeah. He won.
Were you at The Daily Show until the end of Trevor's run?
No, I was just there for a year.
What prompted the departure?
It was just a great time to go. There was, in my opinion, not a whole lot of new stuff to be wrung out of Trump, which is wild because here we are, like 8 years.
Yeah. So you kind of felt that it is really difficult to write a joke about Donald Trump just because of how absurd he was, and you felt like that kind of exhausted you. Like there's no right way to do this right now.
Well, not necessarily that. It's just it was hard to find new angles when he was kind of running the same strategies at everyone every day for months. And he's still, to a certain extent, running those strategies. I'd argue the stakes have gotten a lot deeper, but the ways in which he functions are not very different than 2017.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it keeps him front of mind, which is the most disturbing part of it. Like, he really does not fade into the background. And that's the one thing I will give to Joe Biden, is that he became kind of the first vibeless president for the first three years of that term. I felt like it was just like there's no vibe to this era. It felt like
I miss vibelessness. It was great.
But I feel like we still skip past this law dive in your life. Is this do you want to avoid this for any reason?
No, not really.
What was the decision to pursue this? It was just a little bit of like, I feel like this is what I have to do, but why that of all the other options?
I was like the kind of first generation person that like visited my advisor all the time in college, and at some point she ran out of things to tell me to do other than take the LSAT. And so I took the LSAT, and then I got into Columbia, and everybody was like, well, that's worth it. And so I went out because I'd always wanted to live in New York anyway, and it just seemed like a good excuse, and they gave me decent financial aid. And so I was like, okay.
Nice,
I mean,
nice.
Not great financial aid, hence the payback, but
yeah. and then I mean, like, it feels like it must have been a scary decision to leave the Daily Show, right? Like, what were the options at that point, or what was the next thing?
I went home and I soaked my heels and I wrote my first book, The Survivalists, which I've wanted to do the entire time. Okay.
You've got a path laid out in your head, and you're just doing it all.
They had just passed free pre-K, so I I had 7 hours without my son a day, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to finish this book that I have outlined."
Do you feel like your love of comedy and things like working for the Daily Show helped you in the writing process?
Yes, because none of my books worked until they had jokes in them. I had written 3 books before that, and they were all boring. And I was like, how do people survive the finishing of their books? And there are great serious writers out there, but I'm not one of them. And then The Survivalist ended up being a dark comedy about Black survivalists in Brooklyn. I was like, this works.
That's a struggle that I think a lot of people connect with. Like, I also have a love for science fiction, and I've been trying to figure out how to write in prose, and I've always had this divide of like, well, my comedy brain can't work on this. This has to be Hemingway. But I think something that's helpful is I'm starting to just combine everything. That's kind of why I created the show, this idea that everything that you do is kind of the genre. You don't have to like conform to something else.
Well, first of all, I would just want to say I'm waiting in line for your funny sci-fi novel. I think more novels should be funny. Please, if that happens, let me know.
Okay. Don't scroll away. You Are the Genre. We'll be right back after the break.
Justice may be blind, but I can see right through your narrow behind.
You watch reality TV court shows every day for, let's face it, the insanity.
I'm suing this heifer for her blatant thievery of my style.
Heifer? I am just as slim thick as you.
All right, somebody bring out the measuring tape.
But it turns out that things get even crazier behind the bench.
But baby, please don't go. You're the center of my life, and without you, I'll be completely lost. And apparently out of $28 million.
Judge Travis is a new comedy audio series that highlights fake leaked footage from America's favorite fake TV judge, Percy Travis. And Percy would have you think that in addition to being America's top TV judge, he also has America's most faithful marriage. But this here footage tells a different story.
Friendship building behind her back is normal, natural. I'm just spreading the love.
And to top it off, he's interested in becoming the next Supreme Court justice. The Judge Travis podcast features the voices of Bashir Salahuddin from HBO's South Side as Judge Travis.
You must think I'm a donut. I don't have to sprinkle and shit.
Langston Kerman from HBO's Insecure as his producer, Jax.
Don't overthink the hair. Anything can be fixed in post. I know the effects people in Marvel who made Robert Downey Jr. seem likable.
Brandy Denise from that Starz series, Power, as his bailiff, Raquel.
I'm literally the most underpaid bailiff on TV.
Keisha Sharp from UPN's Girlfriend and Fox's Empire as his wife, Shirley.
You are not close. No, it's about damn time for this showdown.
Amber Ruffin from CNN's Have I Got News for You as the narrator. Guess that means I'm out of a job.
Now get this. Judge Travis knows exactly who that man in the suit is.
And even comedy legend George Wallace as his barber, Gray.
Here come the judge. Look, the king has returned.
So listen to Judge Travis wherever you get podcasts starting on February 11th. And subscribe now so you get the first episodes as soon as they drop. Oh, and remember, this show is totally fake. Okay, so you just heard a trailer for my new scripted show, Judge Travis. But another thing that I do in this pocket of time at the center of episodes of You Are the Genre is I talk about something that I've simply been enjoying just so I can process it, you know? This is me having small talk with you, the listener. It's one-sided, but still, it's fun, right? Well, I just turned 37, and so I had a party a couple days before the actual birthday because the birthday landed on a weekday. And now this is my weekday birthday tradition, I think, where I go to a movie solo. And this time around, I went to go see a movie called Dead Man's Wire. It's directed by Gus Van Sant. It's really fun. Well, fun. It's intense. It's intense. It's based on a real situation in 1977, notably, months before Star Wars premiered that same year, which I think is important. Anyway, prominently featured at some point in this movie is the song "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised" by Gil Scott-Heron. And I found that interesting because in another major movie that everyone's talking about right now, One Battle After Another, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised" by Gil Scott-Heron is massively important. It's not even just a song. It is an important element of the plot. And that's interesting because, one, it feels like this sort of cements the value of this particular song. Like, this is just a universal song at this point. But also, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised" is a song, a piece of media about media. And I think that the increased value of it ties into something that we're all kind of nostalgic about, which is the monoculture. All these pop culture references that he makes in that song are things that kind of connected people, whether you liked it or not. Everyone knows what Leave It to Beaver is, or at least they did back when everyone was watching the same 3 channels. That's just to say that my interest in Gil Scott-Heron and my love of that song has increased. And I think it ties into some of what we've been talking about with Kashana Cauley in this episode too, because music plays an important role in her creativity. So back to the episode. Where were we?
There is something inherently funny about survivalism. Like, my parents had the stacked pantry growing up, and I was just like, why? And and we had like ice storms and stuff in Wisconsin, but they were also just like, like, what if, like, we get barricaded in, and like,
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, weather is terrible. It will totally keep you in your house. But other stuff, they would just name sorts of different apocalypses. And I would be like, I'm not sure 3 weeks of canned ravioli is going to mean the difference between our surviving the nuclear blast and like not. But is this really it? And yeah, that was it. And so I really took it from that perspective. I was like, okay, 3 weeks of canned food? Because that's the thing about survivalism. Like, you're not preparing to survive even 6 months. Like, people don't tend to necessarily have the kind of room in their homes for like,
for all this stuff,
jerky or whatever. And so like I was like, what would be really funny is to tell survivalism the way I always saw it going down, which had nothing to do with the way the media covered it, really, because everybody isn't a white guy who's like taking over federal lands this week or whatever. What if you just wanted to get through your 3 weeks of apocalypse?
Yeah.
And then you had no idea what would happen after that, but you decided to dedicate an enormous section of your planning to it anyway.
Well, it feels like you were ahead of the curve in a way, too, because just a few years after you start on this, everyone naturally gets into a survivalist mode. The COVID pandemic hits, and we're fighting each other for toilet paper. And when did you kind of like, okay, maybe my parents had a point when that went down? Or how did you feel during quarantine?
Oh, completely. And I was doing edits back and forth with my agent before she sent out the book right then, and she circled pandemic in my manuscript.
It's like you're the Octavia Butler of comedy.
Yeah, I guess. She was just like, oh my God. I was like, I know. But yeah, I mean, look, I stocked up on stuff. I had a 50-pound bag of flour at some point because that was the only quantity I could find. So I was just like, fine, I will live on bread.
Yeah. So you learned how to, did you already know how to make bread? I feel I missed out on the opportunity to learn how to make bread during the pandemic. I can still do it now, but it's not that same feeling of like,
oh, just put on a siren, in your house and go, this is it. I'm baking the emergency bread. You can still have that. No, I had no idea how to bake bread.
It's also so great because there's an interesting switch that's happened recently. Like during the quarantine era, it was like people who are, writing for a television show or just writing in comedy are better off than people performing because performing is so risky and it's kind of fading away. And then a little bit after that, during the strikes, it's like the aftermath of that situation, all this conglomeration, it's the opposite. Like the comedians who have figured out how to perform and build up their own audiences in that way and are going on the road. That's like the functional way to to make money in comedy. And the other thing is far more risky. Even within that, you figured out like I don't need television necessarily. I don't need performing on stage necessarily. I am functionally a novelist with a touch of humor in it all. That's a very unique space to enter. I don't think there are many people in that specific camp.
I don't think so either. I'm actually surprised that I've kept it rolling even for this long. I do miss a good writer's room. I was one of those quarantine, so they just sent us home for the writer's room types, and I was just typing away, like all superior. I figured this out. I'm still getting paid.
Yeah.
But the thing about writing books is I think, given how TV is these days and movies, writing books is like an option that's actually, despite its kind of impossible odds, more possible than it seems to get staff.
Yeah. And it has to be very relieving that by the process of, putting the final polish on the book, this story simply exists. It could, this is pre-existing IP. It could become a movie or a TV series down the line. But by the fact that these words on the page are done, this is a full story that can be consumed in the way that it's meant to be consumed. And I imagine there's nothing more satisfying than that.
Yes. Even as a person who has genuinely caught into every single writer's room I've been in, it is still sort of amazing to have your project that is not going through 4 layers of network notes. You can that you can go, well, I'm done with this and this is exactly the way I plan to do it and the finished product is the thing I want.
Yeah. Have you gone through that sort of roadmap of possibilities with some of the novels becoming other things? I'm asking because I'm curious if that has a negative effect where you start to think about the novels with the other forms of media in mind, or are you able to purely think about the novel itself?
I purely think about the novel itself. There was a point when I thought the first one might get optioned that kind of blew up. People kind of, after the strike was a really weird time to be trying to do your options, like right after the strike. People didn't know what was up and folks didn't understand, like they didn't know necessarily what their future projects would be. And it's, to be honest, it's still kind of weird. I think the tariffs are freaking people out and also just the fact that folks haven't been buying a lot. So yeah, that happens. I mean, we're looking into. Well, I probably shouldn't talk about that. But yeah, it's easy to see them as their own project and not be too concerned about it. I don't know what the odds that either of these will get picked up or optioned anyway, the 2 novels. But it's fine if they are. It's fine if they're not. They exist as complete pieces of work, no matter what may happen to them in other forms of media.
And do you think that this cycle of writing novels is like a continuous thing for you? It's something you've been pursuing since you were a kid. Are you able to multitask? You're able to, okay, I'm working on this one officially, but this other one is already churning, or do you kind of wait until the one book is done before you start thinking about the next?
Well, no, I always have overlapping ideas in my head. And then there's always a lot of points during the production cycle of a book when you can work on other projects because you've turned in your edits and you're waiting for feedback from an editor, you're waiting for feedback through your production team, like the copy editors and stuff. And so there are these blank patches that are great times to draft new books. And I think I've kind of gotten the rhythm down. I do have a 3rd book. I'm 45,000 words into that I add things to. Even now that I've worked on at the same time that the PAYBACK, after it got sold, after it was edited, when it was in production, all those dead periods, right now.
Was writing always easy for you? I'm getting the sense that perhaps it was.
I don't know if it was easy, but it always made sense. I always knew what I wanted to accomplish with a piece of writing.
It feels like perhaps that connects with that sort of disconnected feeling that you had in your youth. Did that sort of force you to be more of an internal thinker? Even though you from what you're saying, you're very expressive to your teachers and you're making people laugh, but it feels like there was a rich interiority, perhaps.
Oh, the fact, yeah, I didn't have any friends growing up. It was a good time to figure out what I was about. And yes, writing is a great interior discipline for when you're like not going to have friends. It also works when you do have friends, to be honest. Some of the best experiences I've had have actually been meeting other novelists, meeting other TV writers, etc.
What's the difference between comedy writers and novelists in terms of vibes and hanging out?
One of the reasons I do miss being in a writer's room is because every once in a while I will come across something and I will be like, I need to share this with the sorts of people who will understand how twisted and sick and wrong it is. And like, don't get me wrong, there's completely a bunch of like a type of novelist that's into that, but there's
Yeah.
something about what comedy people think is sick and twisted and wrong that I like in particular.
Stand up and joke writing is it's so immediate, and novel writing is so long term. So it's funny, like when I meet other comics, like, what are you working on? It's such an immediate question, like, what are you what are you working on right now? But when I talk to like novelists and stuff, it's like, so what I'm working on is like, it can be specific, but it also be so abstract because it's so many voices, it's so many, it's the care, there's so much interiority that you can dive into, so many tenses, it's almost too many options. I don't know how novelists are able to keep not seeming insane in conversation. Yeah.
Well, A, nobody cares about that. Like, it's actually completely, if you get with the right people, it's completely fine to seem insane in conversation.
Okay.
And for two, there's always gossip. Like, yeah, like, has everyone read each other's books? No. But does everybody maybe know the same people who they feel slightly wronged by? Yes.
Oh, yes. That is okay. That's the sweet spot of gossip, because I do enjoy some comedy gossip, but I feel like novelist gossip has to, in terms of opinions of other novelists, has to cut much deeper than not liking someone's joke.
Well, yeah, especially because, I mean, you cross a novelist and you could be immortalized forever.
It's This is very true. So the first genre that called out to you was comedy, stand-up records, things like that. The first craft was writing novels that didn't necessarily have a comedic bent, but were about film noir sci-fi detectives.
Oh, I think they were probably funny. I was 10.
Okay, yeah. But you were taking it very seriously at the time.
Yes, I was like, this is the most serious piece of writing anyone has ever produced about the film noir detectives who are having vague 10-year-old ideas of sex.
Nice. That's a great title for once you do find this and decide to publish it. And then the last question of the show is, how do you feel about that first pursuit now? So when you think now, giving an honest modern perspective on those detective sci-fi, film noir, sci-fi novels, how do you feel about that?
I feel like I was figuring it out. I know I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I was starting on the path that I wanted. And to be honest, I went back to books tons and tons of times before I actually got these two published. I went back to books. I wrote prose in high school that was terrible. I wrote a book when I was in law school that was terrible. A very serious tome about the failures of Guantanamo.
Wow. Oh my God. Please find that.
I went to law school during the height of Guantanamo is terrible. Like the very first wave of this isn't working out. And also from a legal perspective, this isn't legal. Like none of this is legal. We're just hiding people away forever. And we're not necessarily giving them a right to counsel or a right to face charges against them, which has terrifying parallels to right now. And so we were the first, like we were a group of law students who were just like, well, this is trash. Like, but also if you can throw out the law by deciding you can imprison people forever, what law is there? Like why are we going to firms? Like what is it that we're all in law school for? And so I have 170 pages of a book that does not work about a lawyer who had a client in Guantanamo and was struggling with those exact same questions. Like, what am I doing this for? What is the purpose of practicing law if they can just imprison people indefinitely forever without them actually facing like a court or a judge or the charges against them?
That "what am I doing this for" feeling seems to be a through line of a lot of this journey. And I feel like I have a broken record, but I truly identify with that. This constant confusion of like, really, this is the case. And I want to kind of go back to just like thinking about these different circles that of people that you know. So you can easily hang out with journalists, you can easily hang out with lawyers, you can easily hang out with novelists, you can easily hang out with comedians. What do you think? Do you think there is some connective tissue between all of those fields? They do seem to be all fields, even though some are abstract and creative, and some are more straightforward and rigid. There is all of them kind of have a discomfort with the norm. It feels like, or really trying to poke and prod at the situation surrounding you. Do you think that something like that is a reason that they're all so easily accessible to you?
Yes, but also everybody there is really into ideas across all those disciplines, and like bigger ideas. Even a comedian who's sitting down to do a set for 5 minutes, usually there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of feeling that goes into that set. There may be 20 years of resentment, anger, or just thinking about a topic that goes into that, and the crafting and the shaping then of that into like a tight five. And I think all those genres have that in common, though. Lawyers are also, a lot of times, at least the ones I've known, have been, what is the scope of the law? Where is the law going? Why are we practicing law in this way? What should the law be in addition to what it is? Novelists kind of marinate on this stuff forever too. You know, the kinds of novelists I hang out with and like the most are just these days, what is the United States? What does it mean to live here in 2025? What is the future? What is the past? How does the past relate to why we're here? What does any of this mean? How can we even reconcile how we feel about living in 2025 with like novels, or even just getting through day-to-day life?
That makes me want to ask, how are you functionally doing this? How are you? You have all these incredible takes on what's happening in the news in a manner that makes me wonder, like, how are you able to write a novel on top of like keeping up to date with all this stuff? Is there a sort of holistic thing that you have going on where it's just like, this is what I do every day? I'm looking at the news, this joke pops up, I type it, then I go back to this. Or I guess that's a long-winded way of saying like, what's kind of your routine these days?
Well, that is my routine. I do get up, I type a joke, I go back to a manuscript. I've done this for 10 years now. I've done it in and around jobs. I've done it in and around like freelance work or novels. I've been really lucky in the sense that I've been able to combine a lot of my personal obsessions with a lot of my bigger projects and a lot of my employment. And so I do find it easy to just wake up and run the jokes and the scripts or the manuscripts all day long and then keep going.
Do you have a feeling of comfort with where you are now? Like a lot of creative journeys are kind of like climbing up a hill, trying to make these markers for yourself. It feels like you are one of those rare groups of people who have like, I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing now, and and I hope that I continue to do the thing. But there's no more hill necessarily.
Oh, I have professional things that I want. I don't know when to actually get to. I have accomplished it all. I'm ready to die. I'm not there yet.
I said nothing about ready to die, but I do think that I guess I hope that there's a level where you're kind of like, I'm doing enough of the thing.
I do feel like I work every day, and that is fulfilling. And that, like I know what I'm going to do when I get up in the morning.
Who are the novelists that you sort of model yourself against? Like, do you want to reach a sort of Dan Brown level? Do you want to have the giant font name on a cover that you pick up at the airport? Or what does the hill look like in the book world for you?
Well, I have a lot of heroes in the book world. A lot of people that I've even had the pleasure of hanging out with. Two of them have blurbed my books. No, more than that. Yeah, honestly, my goal was always to be Percival Everett. I mean, I know that he's busy doing that, and it seems to be, he's got his 50 books. But what I like about his career is to me, he's done whatever he wanted. And he has managed to stay relevant, and he's published forever, and the stuff is good. And it goes all over the place. He's probably, one of our funniest novelists. But he doesn't mind being serious if that's the mood he's in. I would love to put out that many books. I would love to have like weird gimmick humor books. I would love to just do whatever for like 60 books like he has. I think that it's funny that they're married. Danzy Senna is like the chronicler of the funny black female experience that I want. Like particular ways in which her characters go off the rails are the ideal. She has this book called New People, and it's this woman, she's light skinned and she's got this light skinned boyfriend, and they're supposed to be new people, the multiracial people that are gonna lead us into the future. Except that she doesn't really like him all that much, and she doesn't really want to get married, and they have the worst sex, and she's obsessed with Jesus, which is about Jonestown. And I quote this book to my family all the time, and they're sick of hearing about Jonestown. And I researched Jonestown. I'm like, I want to fall apart like that.
And that's the show. Big thanks to Kashana Cauley for joining me in this episode. You can find more information about her and her work in the show notes. Freddie Nunez created and sings the You Are the Genre theme song, and Adam Smith produced it. Next episode, I'll be talking to novelist Noelle Stark. And this is Tim Barnes signing off with your weekly reminder that you are the genre.
First I got your voicemail, then I got you. We can meet in person or maybe on Zoom. So tell me what's your genre, tell me what do you do. I'd like to know the things that specifically